There we go. That hit hard. That was a good one.
What's going on, fellow bashers? Welcome back to another episode of Bash and Bass TV. I'm Justin, and today we've got a pretty cool episode for you. I did try to get some fishing in when I went to Dallas to visit family, and I believe that I'm cursed in that city. Every time I go to go fishing and get video content, it's rainy, windy, just the worst fishing conditions that you could possibly imagine. I'm 0 for 4, I think. But I'm going to go out during the spawn season this time. I'm going to plan it out and specifically go there for fishing. So instead today, I got a few catches this morning that in my normal spots that I'm going to show you guys. Just a few, nothing crazy. It was a lot of fun. But today we're going to talk about late fall, early winter tackle. I'm going to go through my entire tackle box that I set up for the fall and winter fishing. Keep in mind, this is for Texas, especially in Houston area. So some of these baits might not apply to you up in Wisconsin or Illinois, the north guys. It might be a little too cold, but some of the baits that I use in here definitely apply to everyone. So check out some of these catches, and then we'll be right back to talk about some tackle for winter fishing.
There we go. Got out of the weeds. All right, first bass on the sunken treasure rod, the Daiwa. Got a little bit of mud on him. That's a nice looking bass. He's warm too, a lot warmer than they've been lately, which makes me think this water is definitely on the rise with the temperature. Water's warmer. They're gonna be biting more just because I want to see how much this guy weighs. 2 pounds 6 ounces, 5 to 6 ounces. First bass in like 5-6 days. Not a bad one, guys, not a bad one. Cool. There we go. That hit hard. That was a good one. That thing hit so hard. That's a tank. Got him right in the corner of the mouth. And it popped right out. Look at the size of that one. That's 3.5, 4 pounds easily. Let's check out your weight, big guy. 3.5 pounds almost, exactly. 3 pounds 6 ounces, 7 ounces. All right, so 3 pound 7 ounce, beautiful bass. There, better light on it. You see those gorgeous blues and greens and golds. There's another one. Almost 2 pounds. Little guy, fat though. He's a fat little guy. Something going on with his eyeball here. He's got a little infection or a growth or something. But he should be okay. He'll heal. Oh, sh. There's a fish. There's a fish on this. Yep. That's crazy. It's a little guy. That was weird. I cast right where I did not want to cast. Got stuck on that the fountain there that's not turned on, and this guy comes up and crushes the worm. So not a bad one too. He's over a pound. That's probably a pound and a half. But he also killed my worm. He's a piss off fish.
All right, y'all. So that was a bunch of catches. Had a lot of fun. I feel like I have to show you guys catches every time I do a video. I don't want to just do a tutorial or talk about tackle and not show you content. So hopefully you enjoy those. Now on to the beef of the video. I'm going to go over all my tackle now that I have set up. So first of all, I have 4 rods now that I rig up. First rod is my bait caster, my Black Max. And I have a black and blue micro jig with a Bandito Bug black and blue flake trailer. Jigs are always on no matter what time of year, but for me during the winter time, the micro jig especially is very effective. Finesse fishing is basically where it's at for most of winter. The problem with that is, at least in Houston, we get really heavy winds almost the entire time, starting with the last week of November till February, early March. I'm talking 15, 20 miles an hour wind nonstop. So using that stuff is harder. The jig, since it's so much heavier, it actually is probably the best lure to use, in my opinion, for when you're doing finesse fishing. Reel setup number 2 is my Lew's Mach 1 bait caster with a white chatterbait with a white Kraken Craw by Googan Baits. You guys have seen me catch a ton of fish on this lately. It's very successful. Fall and winter, white is the color to go, especially with a moving bait. The key for this is to reel it in slow right above the floor of the lake. That's where the fish are hanging out. They're being lazy. And if you can get this to go right in front of their face with all the movement and give it little twitches and stuff occasionally, they're going to strike at it. They're going to think it's an easy meal. If you burn it and it goes too fast, they're just going to let it go by because they're being lazy. In Houston, we're lucky, though, because I can use a moving bait pretty much all year round and have success with it. Other areas of the country might not because it's too cold, but here we only get a couple of cold snaps a year, and it's pretty beneficial for a fisherman like me who likes to be a power fishing and not do as much finesse. I need to learn more patience and do more finesse fishing, but at the same time, I'm really, really successful with this all year round. All right, so number 3 is my new Daiwa spinner reel. This is the one I pulled out of the water. I greased it up, I cleaned it, everything out, and it works amazing. It casts a mile. It's got a great touch, very finesse oriented, so that's something that I like to use. Right now I have tied on my Ned rig, and I use the black and blue craw. I like to use watermelon red flake as well, but mainly during wintertime I'll use darker colors with my plastics. It's just, the water gets murkier, at least in ponds around me, so the black and blue is definitely the best color to use right now, especially with all, like I said, the wind kicks up all that sediment and stuff. So that is definitely something that I leave tied on no matter what. Summer, winter, fall, it doesn't matter. But right now, the black and blue craw is by far and away the best plastic Ned rig that I can use that I've noticed. All right, rod number 4 is the Lew's Mach 1 spinner. I have my Wacky Rig Senko tied on. It's actually the Big Bite Baits Trick Sticks. I prefer this brand, especially during the wintertime, because they have the black and blue flake with the blue tip. I like the tips that are colored chartreuse or blue. They also have a black and red with a chartreuse tip that is deadly during the wintertime. And what I like to do with them is drag them on the ground and then give them like 2 or 3 pops and then let it sink down. And it's, again, finesse fishing that I'm trying to learn more patience with. but this is kind of a good hybrid for me because I can still go a little bit faster and feel like I'm actually doing a lot more and it's a lot quicker, but they still react to the worm flapping in front of them, and I get a lot of fish with it. All right, moving on to the tackle box now. First up, we have spinnerbaits. I'm pretty much going to throw this spinnerbait more than this one now that winter started because of the chartreuse and the gold blade. Now that I'm getting more murky water, the gold blade actually shows up a lot better than the silver blade. So I have the willow blade and a Colorado blade. The Colorado blade is going to create a lot of the vibration in the water and make a lot more commotion, whereas this blade is going to get the light, and this is what's going to attract them the most. So this is the spinnerbait that I'm going to stick with. Basically a sexy shad with chartreuse. All right, next up is the classic rattle trap. I love the bleeding shad blue chrome. It's got these red hooks and it's got red spots all over the side of it, as well as blue on the top. So it looks like an injured shad, and it makes a ton of noise. This thing, you slow roll it on the ground, let it bump off of cover or structure, logs, whatever, the cement underneath the pond, and this gets bites. This is definitely something that I like to tie on. You could also do the yo-yo style, but I don't really have much luck with it. I do a slow retrieve with a couple of pops and twitches, and this is what gets the bites. Especially when you're hitting it on the ground, and then you give it a real quick pop, and that reaction strike will happen. Boom. All right, one of the other things that I like to use is the bladed jig head, which got like the willow blade underspin with a paddle tail. I haven't used it as much this year, but last year I had great success with this. Got a lot of reaction strikes. They love to hit this thing right when it hits the surface for some reason. Like it hits and it floats down, and this thing's spinning and the tail's flapping, and they just boom. But I do get this while it's moving as well. Again, same thing with the spinnerbait or the rattle trap. Slow roll it, let it bump off of stuff. Move it fast enough to where the blade is spinning and reflecting light, but slow enough that it's right at the bottom. You want it to be like right in their face, and that's when they'll bite it. All right, last up in my tackle box, and certainly not least, this is probably one of the most important baits that I have, is my Strike King KVD shallow diving crankbait. I love throwing the sexy shad all year round, but especially during wintertime. I also have a couple of other variations of it, where Tennessee shad or sexy shad with chartreuse, but this is mainly the number one that I throw. I get so many bites on this crankbait that I don't know why I take it off ever, but at the same time, I like using other lures and have diversity with my styles. But this bait has gotten me some of the biggest fish I've ever caught, 4 or 5 pounders. And again, I love to slow roll it, but what I'll do is I'll keep my rod tip elevated a little bit so it's just right in that water column, and then every 3 to 4 cranks, just give it a quick pop. And that little jerking motion, it looks like an injured fish trying to escape, and they'll react to it and bite it and be like, no, you're not getting away from me, and eat it. So that is definitely one of my favorites. It is silent. There is no rattles or anything here. It's all based on movement or water displacement, and that's it. But you're going to have so much success with this specific lure, especially if you're a pond fisherman or a bank fisherman. All right, guys, so that's my tackle box. It's still full of other stuff, but it's basically just different colors and patterns of what I've just shown you. But I only throw black and blue, black and red, white, and chartreuse. Those are my main 4 colors. That's where I have the most success. Go out and buy this KVD shallow diver crankbait, chatterbaits. Those are going to be your bread and butter if you like to use moving baits, especially if you're a pond fisherman. Like if you fish in different lakes and deeper lakes, it's probably a little different. But bank fishing and pond fishing like I do, that's money. Those are going to be your best friends. The Ned Rig and the Wacky Rig Senko, you can't beat those. And obviously a jig. Like everyone likes to use a jig. So those are the ones that you need to keep in mind, keep in your arsenal, and you're going to catch plenty of fish. All right, before I sign off here, we've got one last thing to discuss, and that is the duck naming contest. Had a lot of great entries, had some really creative names, had a lot of fun with it. But when I told my wife the names that you guys were giving me, one stuck out to her and made her giggle, and she's dying laughing, and she loves it, and that is Quacky Chan. So Quacky Chan is the winner of our duck naming contest. I'm going to get in touch with the guy who named him that, and he's going to be getting the missile baits, Da Bomb, and the Booyah Melee. So congratulations to the winner. It was a lot of fun. We're going to do another contest giveaway coming up very soon, especially when I'm pushing for 500 subscribers. So hopefully by the end of the year or the beginning of next year in January, I hope to have another pretty awesome big giveaway for you guys to help me push to 500 subscribers. All right, so that's going to do it for this week's episode. I hope you guys learned a lot, enjoyed some of these catches, and until next time, just keep bashing.